Hey guys, it's Sarah at Crochet.With.Coffee. Today I wanted to show you this cardigan that is way too big. The sleeves are awful. When I made this, I must have measured myself twice because the dimensions are twice my size. So I could wrap this around me like 2 or 3 times, and I don't know whose arms are that long, but it's not me. So uh, I'm gonna frog this. So I'm gonna take it all out, wind all of these colors up into balls or skeins or whatever they fit into, and gonna make a scrap blanket out of it. So I'm gonna do a blanket that is like a scrap granny blanket, and I'm gonna show you how I'm doing it as I go along. It's gonna be a long journey, so like just follow along for it. It's gonna be fun. But I'm going to take this apart. I have to pick out all the ends because I've already sewn them in. But these are going to go into the rest there. I'm going to add them to the rest of my scraps. So I've got some scraps up here. I've got some in this basket. Not all of these are scraps, but I will not use them for anything. I got some of these, I was gifted these yarns, and I will not use them for anything. I can't think of a project where I will need these or these colors. So I'm going to put these in this scrap blanket. And I think they'll really go nicely with the colors that I have. I even have some partial skeins from the granny uh, the granny bag that I have on my channel. So I have that linked in the description if you want to make that. But I've got some leftovers from that. That's skeins. These are skeins from the Dollar Tree, and I just didn't use them completely, and I have nothing to do with them. So I'm going to put those in scrap blanket. And I also have all these tiny little ends that I have saved. They are tangled mess, and I'm going to reorganize these, rewrap them, make them nice and tidy. And I would just love for you to join me while I do this. Um, Join me as I wind balls of yarn, as I uh, wind cakes of yarn, as I tear this apart, and am sad slash happy that I can use this, and sad that I spent so much time on it and that I made it so big. I don't understand what I was doing. But anyway, I am so excited to do this. Let's get started. So when I'm looking for this end, I'm going to try and find, so I found what edge it's going to come from. I did find a little tail poking through. So what I'm going to do is look from the opposite side that this tail is poking out. I'm going to see if it moves anywhere over here. Pull it. All right. So I saw that that moved right there. So I'm going just to pull that back through this direction. And I'm going to see if this moves anywhere. Looks like it's pulling that little spot right there. So I'm just going to follow this around just to find where it's coming from. Looks like it's from there. So when you have your ends all tucked away like this and sewn in, you've done such a good job hiding them that now you need to search for them. But this is what I mean when I say weave in your ends and go 3 different passes. Because if I was not looking to pull out these stitches, they wouldn't be coming undone on their own. Just gonna pull my tail and see where it moves. Mm, Is there somewhere? It just takes some patience, but you'll find it. And when I get to a frustrating spot that I cannot find the end for anything, I will cut certain parts of it to try and help myself unravel it a little bit, and I'll show you that too, just because it does get frustrating after you're working on it for a while and you can't see where anything is coming from. So just check both sides to see if you can see where those strings are coming from. I did such a good job hiding these. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I did more than 3 passes here. Oh, boy. Alright, there we go. And I think we're almost at the end. There we go. Oh, it's so exciting. I think this is the last one. We'll find out. I'm keeping this whole length in here so you can see the whole process. I know that it's very boring to watch, but if you have questions, I want you to be able to watch this through. If you need to skip through it or it's, you don't need to know this part, please skip it. I'm perfectly I definitely know that this is a very long process here. So, all right, so I'm going to pull that through. I believe that is my last almost, oh, almost. If you're watching this whole time, you're very patient. See, at this point, this might be one that I'm just ready to cut, but all right, I think we got it. But how many times have I said that? Okay, I'm definitely going to have to trim that end. I've done a number on that poor thing. Okay, now we are at the end where you can actually start pulling out the stitches. So when you do that, it's just going to unravel. Oh, wrong way. It's going to unravel the whole thing. So you can either start winding a ball now, or you can unwind everything. For me, it just depends on if my cat's in the room, because she will mess up my whole pile. So I'm just going to keep unraveling this, and then I'll show you how to wind up a ball. And I got to the point where I ran into this. You see how my piece of yarn is attached to something over here? That is because I just ran into the sewing in part of my other tail on this side. So I'm going to have to do the same thing that I did to start with at the beginning. And I did find the tail here. I'm going to look on this other side and see if I can find this other one moving over here. See if I can find where this one is coming from. Looks like it's right there. Okay, looks like I found that spot that was getting snagged on my other strand there. Oh, there it is. So I just got to find that one. So I got that one all free. And so I don't run into it again. I'm just going to keep working at this tail so I have it completely free. Sorry if I keep going out of frame. I'm zoomed in so much that I'm never sure where I am. Alright. Okay, so I am ready to continue unraveling. So when you're pulling yarn out like this, I would suggest putting your yarn in a spot where it will not be bothered, where it's not going to get where your pile of yarn here will not get bothered. Sometimes I will put mine in a container. I have a container like this that sometimes I'll throw these ends, like as I'm unwinding them, I'll put them in there, or like a little container basket from the dollar store works really well, or any type of basket or table or anything, but somewhere where these will not move. Like if you were to pick these up and move them now, you run the chance of getting tangled. So I would say don't touch this pile if it's at all possible. Don't touch that when you're making a pile of yarn when you're frogging, because that will save you a lot of headache later on to not have to untangle your yarn. All right, so this one is just about free. Yeah, so this one looks like it was a different type of knot than when I put this, or the other colors that I had done. So I'm going to cut the yarn there because that's not wasting a whole lot. And I'm going to cut it there so that it slides out of the other color. Add that to my scraps pile. All right, and when you wind a ball of yarn, what I like to do is take the end that you just finished with. Don't go digging in here to try and find your other end, because that will definitely mess up your pile and cause you tangles and knots. And you don't want to work from the bottom of the pile. You want to work from the top, because that is going to have the least movement with your yarn. See how it's just pulling right off the top and it's not disturbing any of the other bits of the pile. That's what you want. So I'm going to start, and I just wrap this yarn around my fingers a few times. Just wrap with your heart, whatever amount you think. So I take something like that. It's sometimes more, sometimes less. So it's not anything that is, you need to go by any certain number. Then I just grab it with my hands and I twist it. You could do this any number of ways. This is just what I do. So it gives a little clump in the middle. And then I just start wrapping around like that a few times. And then that's pretty secure. And then I just rotate it a little bit and wrap some more. So it's like a crisscross. And then I wrap it. So I've gone this way, and now I'm going to turn this direction. And you just want to wrap your yarn at all angles. I see some people turn like every few wraps like this, and they make a really pretty ball that just it looks very nice and very put together. But I rotate and I just go vertically, horizontally, and then I switch it because your goal is just to keep all of these loops secured onto this ball. So I just move every so often so that these pieces are being covered again so that it won't just slide right off the ball. See how it's secured on there like that? And I just keep doing that every few wraps. I just turn it around. So I did vertically, switching it. And rotate it like this. Just rotate wherever you think it needs it. It's the main goal is just to make sure that these pieces that you just wrapped don't slide back off. So that's why you keep rotating and wrapping in different directions. There's really no rhyme or reason to just getting a nice ball of yarn. And it's okay if your ball of yarn looks crazy. It's perfectly fine. It still functions no matter what they look like. The goal is to just keep it all on there nice and tidy. I'm almost at the end. Okay, so I got to my end. I'm actually going to trim that because it looks sad. And then I'm just going to tuck it underneath some of this other yarn that I have here. Just tuck it right under there just to secure it so I don't have loose ends wandering all over. And there's a nice ball of yarn for you. All right, so I'm going to show you what you're supposed to do if you're going to cut your ends over here to start unraveling. So what you still want to do is you want to look at what direction your piece is going. So you see how these V's are going that direction? Oh, there's V's there. You want to go that direction and go to that end. The reason why you want to do this is because this is the end that you'll be able to pull from, where it just unravels really nicely. If you were to go on this end where the stitches, you can tell they're coming from, they started over here. See how the V is starting, the point of the V is this direction. You don't want to start over here because you will not be able to unravel like we did just pulling the yarn. This would be each stitch you have to um, unwrap each individual stitch. This one will do it for you if you're going that direction. So what I'm going to do to be able to start this end without having to find my tail is I'm going to go under the last stitch that I had right there. See, that is my last V right there. So my last stitch, I'm going to go under that with my pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut both of those. Okay, so now it's going to pull out of that bottom part of that last stitch there. And that's going to give you something to work with. So there is my last stitch, and I'm from underneath, I am pulling that tail right there. So that is your live tail, where if you pull this, it will unravel everything. But this is also tied into the bottom down here with those other stitches. So what I'm going to do is just keep grabbing that piece that's connected to those stitches and keep going right there, because I know that these are all, it looks a mess, but these right here are all tied into the tail over here. So what I'm going to do is keep unwrapping over here, keep pulling this tail all the way to that end, And on the way back, I just want to show you all the absolutely frustrating, ugly parts of tearing something out that has stripes in it like this, because it is a pain, super pain. So now I got to the point where I have got both ends coming out of this right here. All right. So I have two options. I can start pulling out the tails from here and unwrapping all of that to be able to use the rest of this yarn. But to me, that is not worth the frustration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut both of these pieces here because I know that that is totally untangled. I don't need to think about it. Those are, that's a good piece of yarn that I can use for my scraps. And now with this, all right, so what I'm going to do is you can cut this as much as you want. It's not going to harm anything because I've already deemed this trash. So I can cut it as much as I want and nothing that doesn't bother me at all. But what I don't want to do is cut the row underneath it or any of the next yarn. So I know I can only cut this orange stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into this stitch here and I'm just going to cut it off. And that part is exposed and that has come off right there. And I'm going to do that to the next stitch here. Go right under there. And again, if you want to use a seam ripper, you can find in the sewing section of Walmart or craft stores, that would work too. So I'm just going to go under that stitch and I'm going to make sure that the green underneath is clear of my blade so I can see that it's all the way under there and it won't be harmed when I clip that. So just double check if there's something that you want to make sure you're not going to cut. And I've got that one last little piece. So I'm just going to cut that orange right there. None of that blue was cut, and that is good for unraveling the next side. And that little buddy's going into my stash of scraps. And then for this one, what we're going to check first is the direction of those stitches. So that is going the correct way. You can see the V is pointing that way. So that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to see if I can find a tail. And this looks like it might be one that I'm going to cut. So I'm going to do this again and just unravel that. All right, and I am all tied in here. So I can see where the ends are going, and I can see over here, this one is connected. I'm going to trim this end here because I don't want that piece anyways. As for my end. And this side is pretty tangled. So again, this is another example of probably a place that I would cut. So this was the portion that I just unraveled. And I'm going to cut that. I'm going to make a little ball here. And because this is a scrap blanket, little pieces are not a problem because the smaller pieces could be for the center, or the smaller things that I'm planning on making. So every little ball of yarn has its use. And really, if you're just clipping one little section at a time and seeing where it leads you, and then when you come up to an issue, you can snip it and just move on. Because undoing scraps is an adventure, and there's really no easy way to do it, and there's no real answer for anything. Like, I can't tell you this is exactly how you do it because each situation is different, just like each row that I have done has been a different scenario, even though I did all of it and I did the same technique for everything. It's giving different answers for each one. So that's what I cut at the end. And I know I'm getting pieces like that when I know I'm cutting something apart or unraveling it, something like this that has all these colors, and I know I had a lot of ends that I was weaving in, and I know that this is just part of that thing where I will have a ton of scraps in this, and that's okay. I think that it is worth it to have a bunch of these end scraps here instead of a whole project that I will never use. And it's just sitting there because I don't like it or it doesn't fit. So I'm just gonna wrap this up here. Again, your first wrap is just wrap with your heart. When it feels right, then you take it off. I just take it and I twist it. You can do it however you want to. There's no right or wrong way of wrapping your yarn balls. It's just whatever works best for you. This orange one I didn't wind yet. All right, my last section here. Let's see what I got. It's gonna start being a problem. I know where it's coming from. I'm just going to start unwinding it this direction and see what happens. So when you are frogging a project like this, don't let it frustrate you because you can't unravel something. Just be patient with yourself. Know that you're going to be doing some cutting and just have fun with it. Like, I love winding balls of yarn. I think it is a lot of fun. Okay, so this, I have both of these ends, over here. So it's totally untangled. This isn't worth it for me to try and undo because that would take a lot more of my time and frustration. And most likely the yarn would be, in not great condition after I get all of that stuff untangled. So that's what I'm doing with things like that. So don't be afraid of losing this. This is a small portion, a small price to pay for gaining all this yarn back from a project that you will never use or be able to do anything with. So don't let it get you down. Just look at it as an adventure. I think this is fun. Sometimes these pieces need to go away for a little while because I knew that I needed to do this for probably a year. And I didn't wanna do it, it made me sad, but at this point, I got excited that I had an idea for the yarn and a project that I could make with this, so that's what I'm gonna do with it. I'm gonna complete doing that whole big project, that big sweater that I don't know what I was doing, but I'm going to also show you how I use a yarn winder, and I'm gonna show you how to use one of those as well, because they're a lot of fun, and there's a bunch of different kinds that you can use too, but I'm just gonna show you the one that I have, and you can look at some different ones from there. So I'm gonna show you something that is a useful tool. This is a yarn bowl. So the reason it has this swirl on the front is because when you put a ball of yarn in here, the yarn goes in there, it's nice and smooth on the inside, so the yarn ball can bounce around in there without getting snagged on anything. And then this little swirl, you can just wrap the yarn in there. It doesn't always stay there, but sometimes it's helpful. So then this will just unravel without much snagging on the end that I'm pulling from, without much resistance. So it just does its thing like this. There's different things that you can use instead of a yarn bowl. You could use just a regular kitchen bowl. If you want, a nice deep one works, like a salad bowl or something like that, but nice and smooth, a big soup bowl maybe. So something like that is very helpful when you are winding on a winder, because then if it's coming from a ball and you want to put that into a cake of yarn with a winder, this is helpful. If you are making a project and you want a ball of yarn to not run away from you and get snagged or, get lost somewhere, this is a really helpful tool to have next to you. So you could use that, or you could use a bowl like from the kitchen. Something else I have used is a planter. So this is a cute little turtle planter I I'm sorry, that I found, and he has the ceramic is all smooth on the inside. So I like to use him as a yarn bowl. So you can use just about anything for a yarn bowl, just like that. So it's really sweet. I just think he's so cute. So I have him hanging out on my desk with me, and that is primarily the one that I use because I like that one. But this one works really well too, and so does a kitchen bowl. So let's get winding, and I'll show you what that looks like on a cake winder. So this is a yarn winder. There is a crank in the back here that swings around this arm, but this is winding yarn. So what you do is you loop it through this first arm here, and then you loop it through the second arm down here. There are some of these that only have the one arm, and then it loops itself around there on its own. There are two different kinds, I believe, at Hobby Lobby, and there's a bunch on Amazon. But that is how you thread it on there. Now I'm going to hold the yarn a little bit tight with my hand while I'm winding it, so that it is not going to get too loose in here, because it won't wind a nice tight cake if it's loose yarn. So I'm going to turn this, and you see that arm wrapping around that right there, and it's just going to make a nice little cake of yarn. Crochet.With.Coffee. I just wanted to stop in here and give you a little update on my scrap project. So you saw the cardigan that I was tearing apart, and I was in the process of getting everything unraveled and frogged, and I want to show you what I have left. So I've got these scraps. I had a little bit of these before. This is not so much what was in the cardigan, but this is what I had before that. So I have these. It's a lot. And then I've got this bunch that is from the cardigan mostly. I had some before that, but I have all those colors. And then I have those little tiny little baby ones. All right, so what I decided to do with it is make a blanket, and I'm doing granny squares. I love it so much. I'm so excited that this is what I decided to do with these scraps. I love it so much. I have some bright colors. I've got the little tiny scraps. I'm doing like the center. I'm doing like the 3 different colors. And this granny square blanket, I'm crocheting as you go. So you see, I'm doing, making a square, doing everything but the last couple sides. And then I am attaching them as I go. You can see those stitches. I'm doing like a little slip stitch in between the already existing square. And that is how I am building this. And I can't wait to get more done on this because it's been so fun and just trying to figure out what colors I want where and just being random. And I just love it so much. So I just want to show you what I'm making with it. Check back with me later in the week because I'm going to have a tutorial on how to make it. So how to make each square and then how to do the connect as you go, like the join as you go method on this. So subscribe so you don't miss it. But I am going to make this with you later in the week. I'm so excited for you to join me on this scrappy journey. And then also, I want to show you some different examples of blankets that you can do with scraps. My mom and I made scrap blankets a long time ago. I'd say probably 20 years ago or more. We made these scrap blankets. But if you don't have scraps from projects and you're just starting and you still want to make something like this, go to the store and grab whatever colors you like together. And you can grab whatever goes together, what doesn't go together, anything that you like that you want in a scrap blanket. Even check thrift stores. A lot of the time they have like $1 skein of yarn. Garage sales a lot of the time have them. Just be creative with where you get stuff. I get scraps from the thrift store all the time, and it'll be like a partial skein for like $1.50. It's such a good thing to get for scrap blankets like this. But when my mom and I made a scrap blanket, what we did was we took full skeins of yarn, like a bunch of different colors, and I'm going to show you a picture of what it looked like or what it looks like. She still has them, so I'm so glad that she did because she sent me a picture of it. But we took like arm's length and tied them together and then wrapped them up in a ball and then did a whole bunch of that. We left the tails on some of them just to make it look really scrappy. But we made that, and we made it out of like full skeins of yarn to get the scrappy look. So you can also do that if you don't have a bunch of all these little scraps. But these little tiny ones like this is the perfect length for these little tiny ones, like the center there. So I'm so excited to continue working on this one, and I'll check back once in a while so you can see the progress of this because it's going to take me a long time to get through all these scraps and put them together. But it is going to be such a great blanket to have, and I'm thrilled. And it's like little memories of different things. Like I remember I made a cardigan out of this one. This one I made um a blanket. I don't know if I made a blanket. I know my cousin made a blanket out of this yarn for my grandpa. So I know that that color is what reminds me of that. I have let's see what else is in here. Some of them I don't even know what I did. I know this is a yarn from Hobby Lobby, and I never knew what to do with it, but it looks great in this. So I made a cardigan out of this one, or no, not a cardigan, a sweater out of this one, and then just all of these different ones. I cannot wait to see what this looks like as I go, but just wanted you to see a little bit of that and show you what you can do with scraps or what you could make out of something that looks like scraps by using full skeins of yarn for it. But I'm going to keep working on this and I'll check in once in a while so you can see the progress of it. But check back later in the week because I will have a tutorial on how to make this. And I'm so excited for you to join me on a journey of a scrap granny square blanket. Have a great day.